Hola mi gente, you're listening to MoneyChisme, a podcast bringing you the chisme on personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship, and building wealth. I am your host, Violeta, a first-generation Mexican immigrant in which I struggled on my own path to financial freedom and am currently on my personal journey to building wealth. I am here each week to bring you my experience, financial tips, and the latest chisme on personal finance to help you on your own journey to financial freedom and building wealth. So if you're looking for a place to learn financial literacy, how to invest, and how to make your money work for you, then you've come to the right place. Don't forget to visit the blog at MoneyChisme.com, where you can also keep up with the latest chisme and sign up for the email list so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on social media, including Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, and YouTube. All right, mi gente, so get your cafecito or your drink of choice and let's get into this chisme. Okay, so levanta la mano, raise your hand if you are freaking out about these interest rates. Like, they just keep going up and up. And I think the most recent one was like for a 30-year mortgage was at 6.82%. Now that's like double, more than double than what we were seeing last year or even earlier in this year. Like, it was crazy on how low the interest rates were last year. And I was able to get some, I think the lowest that I saw was like 2.4% or something like that. And now they're up to 6.8 and it's still going up. So what does this mean? This means that it is getting more expensive to borrow money. So people are freaking out because now it's getting harder to be able to afford loans, mortgage loans. And so the question is like, should I still buy a house? Should I still invest in real estate? For me, the answer will still be yes. I mean, if the numbers work and you're able to afford it, and after you crunch the numbers, they are good for you, then still go for it. So why do I think that you should still buy that house or get into the real estate game? Well, these high interest rates are actually having somewhat of a positive impact. It's basically like the supply and demand concept where it is starting to level out the playing field for both the buyer and the seller. Porque last year with these low interest rates, borrowing money was super affordable. So guess what? Everybody was over there borrowing money, getting mortgages, and coming into the housing market, which ended up creating this housing market bubble of just people coming into this housing market and trying to buy homes. And guess what? There was so much competition that they were just like trying to buy anything at that point because they wanted to buy a house. So that on top of the supply issue that we had that, really held back all the houses that were trying to get built. So there was just a backlog of like homes. And so that created like everybody like fighting tooth and nail for the houses that were available. So this ended up creating a, bubble in which people were, offering more than asking price just to try to compete everybody else. And so that started just pushing these houses, these prices through the roof. And then at some point, people were buying homes after just seeing the home for like 30 minutes. And even myself, that was me. The house that I'm currently in, I saw it for 30 minutes. Now, mind you, I did make sure that I was buying below my budget, and I had already did research on the market that I was going for and had an idea of what I wanted and all that. So even this house, before I saw it, I researched like the property taxes and everything like that I could possibly research. So when I came to see the house in those 30 minutes that I got, there were certain things that I was looking for. Luckily, there was enough pictures of the home that I was able to make a pretty educated decision based on, the little time that I had to be able to make an offer. But also, I was kind of lucky in a way because I still purchased right before the bubble was getting really huge. So I was still able to get this home at a actual regular price. Not to mention, we also got lucky that the seller was a retired Navy and we're Navy. So he basically saw our offer and had already decided that he was going to sell to us. Because we were Navy, and the good thing about military is we usually help each other out, look out for each other, especially when he knew that the housing market was getting crazy. And so, we negotiated, I think just a few fixes and that was it. We were still able to get the inspection report done at that time because later on, people were buying houses without even getting a home inspection and just like basically purchasing blind. And so all that just started this whole chaos of this housing bubble that people keep saying is going to burst. So you had so much influx of people coming in to purchase homes. And now that the interest rates are going up and we're starting to see price reductions in homes, people are starting to freak out that there's going to be this housing market bubble that's going to burst and it's going to go into a downward spiral and it's going to get crazy. But la verdad, it's really us just getting back to normal. It just balancing out. We just had too many people and now the interest rates are going up. So now people are backing up. And so now the buyer pool is getting smaller and more even. And so now there's kind of more of a balance and a more even playing field for both buyer and seller. And so it's really just kind of a somewhat of correction, but it's not like an overcorrection that I don't believe is going to happen, in my opinion. It might dip a little bit more eventually in housing prices, but really the reality to me is that the prices are just coming back to normal because we had pushed them up so high. And so that's what really the interest rates are doing, is reducing the competition. Porque last year, people were like, yo, let's get this money and let's start, getting some houses and all that stuff. And now interest rates went up and people are, getting more cautious and, kind of being like, you know what, I'm just going to wait. So la gente no quiere, borrow money right now. But even so, the interest rates right now are still lower than, back in the day. Like they were in double digits. So, it's still a pretty decent interest rates. It's just, it seems like crazy because we just got spoiled with the low interest rates from the past year and a half. So should you still buy that home that you need or you want or whatever? Or should you still get into the real estate investing market? What's the deal? Well, first off, if you need a bigger home and you could afford it and you did your budget and figured out how much house you can afford with these interest rates, then, go for it. Because at the end of the day, if it works for you, then it works for you. And these interest rates shouldn't stop you. Same thing with real estate investing is if you can find a property and after you crunch the numbers, it still does what it needs to do and it works, then go for it. You should not worry about these interest rates and let them hold you back from taking these steps. especially now, porque now that we are seeing the trend that houses are coming back down, the prices are coming back down, you start seeing price reductions. I'm starting to see them even over here in California in some areas. They're just starting to accept offers that are just not like a 20,000, 50,000 above the asking price. They're starting to come back down to reasonable asking prices. And so now you're starting to see that benefit from the high interest rates and the lower, the smaller buyer pool, basically. And so you have more of leeway to be able to negotiate that house price. You also have the ability to now get a home inspection and be able to use that home inspection to further negotiate repairs, or just negotiate the price, or even negotiate for cash back for the repairs. Like now it's more of a regular kind of transaction where you actually negotiate, whereas before you just accepted whatever the heck they gave you and just wished for the best, and hopefully you didn't get a house that was going to go downhill within the next year, and that you were going to get all these costly repairs. And so now that the houses are staying in the market longer, you also have the ability to just take your time and do your research on the houses that you're thinking of purchasing, and taking the time to look at the neighborhood, looking at the property taxes and all that, to be able to make a better decision for your family or for the investment property, because before everybody was just scrambling trying to figure out where to live. And so now, like, everybody, pueden respirar, you could breathe and, make a better financial purchase, especially when it's this big of a purchase. Now, for investment properties, does it still work? Well, these interest rates can still work. Just this past month in August, I closed on a duplex, and I got it for, I think it was like 5.99%. And the numbers still worked. I ran the numbers. I calculated the interest. I calculated my mortgage. And then, of course, I kind of already figured out the rental income that I could ask for. And that still covered the property management fees, the mortgage, the taxes, the property taxes, and the insurance. And then I still had positive cash flow. I still was receiving like at least $500, I think it was, for this one. And it wasn't too far off from the other property that I bought in the same area, and it's going to rent for the same price. Similar price, because the rental market is still pretty steady, and it also grew as well as the time. So it should still go pretty steady. And even if it dropped down a little bit, I will still be cash flowing and still making money. Now, for me, like, I still decided, I kind of freaked out a little bit. También estaba like, oh my God, ¿qué voy a hacer? Like, how am I going to find a property? Because my goal is to buy one investment property per year for the next 5 years. And my plan is to hopefully get as close to replacing at least 75% of my paycheck eventually. Right now, I'm hoping that it is, in 2.5 years, I can replace a little bit of my paycheck so I could get out the Navy, because I'm ready to go. And so now with these interest rates, I'm able to find a better deal. Like I said, I bought one in August. But I found less competition. This duplex was in the market for like 45 days, and I was able to negotiate everything. Like I brought them down from like, I think they had listed it at 124, and I eventually brought them down to 105. And I just used, my research. I'm starting to get better idea of how to negotiate, and it's been paying off. And after the inspection report, I was able to use that. And like before, you couldn't even use that to negotiate anything. People would just be like, the seller would just be like, yeah, whatever, we have 20,000 offers, so I'm going to go with somebody else that's not going to require the inspection report. But with this property, I was able to really negotiate and bring that price down. And I still found a good deal even with the high interest rate. Also, también, whenever you're getting into real estate or, you're buying your first home, for the majority of us, it's a long-term game. When you're buying your first home or just another home for yourself, you're planning to live in that for like the next at least 5 to 10 years. And some of us, it's, our pretty much our forever home to grow our family. So some people stay like 15 plus years in their first home as they raise their kids. So, historically, the trend for home equity is to go up, and, it might dip down ahorita because, like I said, everything is basically just coming back down and balancing itself out from this freaking inflating of house prices. So don't let that scare you. It's like a temporary thing, but historically we still are going up as far as your home equity. And so eventually it's going to kind of even out, or you'll start coming out on top. So if you're planning to buy your first home or just another home because you outgrew your first home, this interest rate, shouldn't really deter you, especially if you plan to be in the home for like 5 to 10 years. It's going to just even itself out with the equity itself. And then this itself, it will, be a good hedge against inflation. Even, right now we have a lot of inflation. So even like it's even a better deal now, and is really helping you at this time with everything like being so overpriced. But even just when we get back to kind of like a regular state, we were getting on average like, I think it was like 2.3% of inflation per year. And that means that, putting your money in a house or a real estate investment property, that you are, protecting yourself better against inflation, versus having this money just sitting in your savings account. Like, you do want to have an emergency fund, pero también like it just sitting in your bank account, you are losing money. Like my parents did that, and they were saving for retirement and just a savings account, y like it might as well be nothing, porque the inflation now, like what they thought back then, everything has increased in how much it costs because of inflation. And now, like, I don't think it's definitely not nowhere near enough of what they need to retire. And so it's the same idea, like just having it in your savings account, you're losing money every year. It's that your money can purchase less things every year, but having it in your like property, ahí está el dinero, because the equity from the house and the property is going up. And then in a real estate investment property, estás ganando, money. You're getting cash back. You're getting your cash flow. So, for example, my duplex, I put 25% down, which came out to be like about 30 grand, 32 grand, which includes the closing costs. So, but I think the actual down payment was like 20,000 or something like that. So that 20,000 is going into the duplex versus me putting it into a savings account to just sit there. And with the duplex, I'm getting money every month, from the rental income. And on top of that, I'm slowly building equity. These properties where I'm at are going to build equity slower, but is still building equity to overcome the, average inflation percentage of the regular 2.3%. And after, with this specific duplex that I get about 500 of cash flow per month, I will make that money back in about 3.5 years. If I want to make the closing costs, including the closing costs, it'll be closer to 4 years. But in those 4 years, I make that money back. And on top of that, the house is getting paid off for me and the maintenance costs and everything like that. And I'm building equity on top of that. So in those 3.5 years, I make my money back. The house is getting paid for. And if I want to sell it, I'm still coming out on top because I got my money back. The house was getting paid off by, the rental income. And, I didn't lose out on money because of the equity. And even for your own personal home, you are paying into your own property that's also building equity. And if you house hack it, I've house hacked, all my homes, which is basically just renting out a room, or if you have kind of a unit outside or something that you can rent out to somebody, that, increases your value over time as well. And even with your, if you're purchasing your own home or thinking of buying, the average home equity goes up 3.5 to 3.8% per year on average. Don't take into account this last year because that was crazy. Prices were going, super high. And now it's, coming a little bit back down. So you probably could see equity just kind of level out of, versus of what it was last year. And so with just the 3.5 or 3.8%, you're already above the 2.3 average of inflation. So that's already protecting you against that. And so, buying your house in at least 5 years, you'll be able to go ahead and leave that property if you have to. If you have to sell it for a bigger home, you decide you all of a sudden have more kids or whatever, then in the 5 years on average, most people could start selling their home and make their money plus some equity, under normal circumstances, as long as we don't have a big recession coming up. So if you do want to buy a home or get into real estate, just run the numbers and check your budget. And if it's cash flowing or if just buying a home for yourself makes sense, then don't let these interest rates deter you. Que no te espante, because overall, even in any market, you could always find a deal that works for you, or you could try to find the house that's going to work for you, even if the interest rate is high, because it really is on what it is that you need that home or property to do for you to help you reach your goals. And that's really all that matters. So I say go for it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave me a review and don't forget to share so others may find the podcast. If you'd like to be a guest or have any topics or questions you'd like to hear discussed, you can reach out to me at any of my social media or email me at moneychismeblog@gmail.com. Hasta la próxima. Bye.